Hello to our South Asian Success community. I'm very excited to have our special speaker today, Mausmi Ambastha. Mausmi, thank you for joining us. I had a really nice chance to meet Mausmi in person this summer in India when I partnered with ZapScale on an event, and that was just such a fantastic opportunity to meet you and your team and also learn a lot about the product. And I immediately was like, we have to do more things together. So I'm really happy to have you here. In general, our South Asian Success community, we are running our webinars, really bringing you unique thought leadership areas to learn and grow and things that you can share on with your teams as well. So today, our topic with Mosmi is building simpler, and we're trying to understand a little bit more of the how you're building products to actually simplify not only for customer success, but simplify the process of customer success. So nice to meet you again here, Mosmi. Can you just kick off by telling everyone a little bit about yourself? Where did you grow up? Where do you live now?
Thank you, Paro. Let me first thank you for getting me on session. And it's been such a pleasure to know you since we met in India, and after that also we keep chatting about and all you have done with South Asian success and all the other things that you do. It's very exciting. It's always exciting to see other successful women entrepreneurs actually. And I always enjoy meeting people, and customer success is a place where you meet a lot of women as well. And that's very interesting for me. So I live in India. I grew up in India. I come from Patna. And after 10 years or so working in the industry, so I come from a very different background. I did computer engineering and then I did fashion technology. And I was working as a consultant in Southeast Asian countries with brands and manufacturers, doing consulting for productivity improvement operational. So the non-sexy side of fashion, okay? It was more about improving processes within the factory processes, systems, operations, and things like that. Setting up factory layouts, all of that. So, I draw a lot of parallels from there to what I do now. So after 10 years, 12 years of working, I started a company called Tredsol. That was my first startup. And we sold it in 2018 for all cash deal to a UK-based public company. And then we started ZapScale, which is now a SaaS AI focused product for B2B companies to improve their customer success and hopefully make CSM's life simpler and make it easier for everyone. So that's where I am right now.
Yeah,
And
I love
I'm
that. You're having a blast. Well, okay, the shift from fashion tech or fashion operations tech to CS tech, we'll dive into that a little bit, but that's such a like an awesome journey and getting to co-found be a founder multiple times in your career. So, that is also something very inspirational, I think, for many of the folks that are listening and people that maybe say, "Hey, I have this idea. Like, how do I, do I take it on?" So we can dive into like what drove you in that way. But since this is South Asian success, my question for you is, are you team chai or are you team coffee or are you team something else in the morning?
always team chai. I have like 8, 10 cups of chai. I crave for good quality tea and I have everything. I will have black tea, which is my favorite. I like Earl Grey, ginger. I also like the milk tea, which is made with a lot of masala. So
Mhm.
any kind of tea, I am always game.
I love that. So I switched to team coffee, but I used to be only tea for like the first, I would say, half of my life, and I loved dabbling. I would always buy all the different varieties just to see like the nuance of tea. Tea is a yeah, is a whole food identity, right, in itself.
I've
Um,
tried Chinese tea. I love that too.
yeah.
Turkish tea. So I am a tea person all through.
Tea, tea all the way. I love that. Um, okay, so let's talk about real quick, like you decided to found a company twice. Can you walk us through a little bit of like your mindset and your process on the decision to do this? Obviously, putting yourself out there, it's a risky thing. That's something that, not many people can do, and then to do it successfully. Can you walk us through kind of what took you to the decision of, hey, I'm going to do this. I'm going to start this company, and this is a vision for me. This is the path for me.
If you ask me, like if you would have asked me like many years ago when I started working, I would have said no, I would never start a company. That's who I was, and I come from a very humble background. So I didn't have a lot of money in my family, right? Which would like I can just put and start a business. So early years of my life, I was more focused on doing a job and I was enjoying it, doing consulting all across, and I saw some specific problems while doing that, and that was in apparel brands and manufacturers domain, where I saw there's an opportunity to improve fabric savings through operational processes. And around 2013 I started thinking about why can't I do this. And I think it was more of a situation where I partnered with my co-founders, who were all three of them were from software background. One of them of course is also my husband. And I brought this idea in and we started dabbling and we said, okay, let's try this. If we are able to make something out in 6 months, great. Otherwise, we can always go back to job. And I don't know what kicked in, frankly, but there was something that just flipped and we said, okay, we need to try this. And we were very passionate about it. So we created a product. It was a SaaS product for apparel brands and manufacturers for improving their operational processes, which would save them somewhere between 4% to 12 to 15% of fabric, which is huge saving for a manufacturing organization, right?
Mhm.
And once we got started, initial days were of course very, very tough. And we started, participating in a lot of awards, more from the intention of, winning the award and getting the money that comes with the award rather than just the award. And we won quite a few. We won Microsoft BizSpark Challenge in India. We won Grace Hopper Celebration Award. And all of that really helped build our confidence. And the more we started doing it, it was a lot of fun. It was grilling, but a lot of fun. And I really enjoyed the journey that we took until 2018, of course, once the company got acquired. Now, once it got acquired, it was acquired by a public company. I was heading global customer success for this firm. They acquired two other companies. So after, setting up operations and customer success in my own business, I didn't think about customer success at that time, but we did. Now, when I think back, I said, okay, that's what I was doing. I was basically just concerned about making sure my customers don't leave, because that industry is very connected and everybody knows everyone. So it's very important that you don't lose customers, or if you do, you always lose in like very good terms. They talk good about you in the market. So we did all of the things that I now have learned what they are called. Right. So once the company got acquired, over 5 years, we had like what 1.5% churn. Now I know those numbers and I believe, oh, that was a good one. So once it got acquired, I was heading the global business of Coats Digital as customer success in the leadership position. And as reporting to the CEO, I was managing around 800 customers across six different products. I think there were 40 countries in which we had businesses who were dealing with our products. So, it was a huge deal trying to merge three different companies. And then I started understanding more about customer success and how to implement in a much larger scale. So that's when I started dabbling more inside into how to set up processes. And we did quite a bit in 2 years that I was there. I was very proud of what I was able to do to merge three different companies and get the entire customer success processes, structures, teams set up. And same time, I was also looking for tools that can help me manage this complexity. And that's when I realized that there is a gap where CS tools are there, but they are more for very large enterprises. And it sort of seemed that it seemed there are certain things that are missing. And that inspired me to do ZapScale. 2 years in corporate, flying business class, going on New Zealand and holidays, and it was so much fun. But there was something missing. And I think I missed the thrill of a startup, because in a large corporate, the work moves at a certain pace. And I was habitual to doing things really fast and being able to create something. So that's when we left. After 2 years, I left the company, and of course, a lot of other people as well. We started ZapScale. Around 60% of my team at this point in time are all my previous ThreadSol team members and the same co-founders. So it's like coming back to the family again. And it's been good journey since then.
Yeah, wow, that's so great. I mean, I love the sort of the nuance that you share. Like there, not all the times are easy, but when you know that you still are in the process and you love the process, it makes it easier to stay in it and adhere to it. Um, well, let's talk about ZapScale. Starting a CSP is not a small feat, and obviously there are competitors in the space, and there's legacy competitors too that have been around. What were the goals to differentiate ZapScale? So you knew there was a gap in the market. You saw sort of some sort of needs. How did you go about saying we're gonna address these needs? What were those needs, and how did you what was the process?
So while I was working in codes, because we needed a tool, so we went through demos of around 10, 12 different products. And we saw that none of these products, they were all good platforms, really well built. However, none of these had like pre-built structures of setting my system, setting my KPIs. They were all they were all like Legos, that this is entire structure, these are Legos, build your own customer success within this. And I thought this is just too much. The implementation process almost everywhere seemed to be like a timeline of 6 months with the large complexity that we have. And I thought that this 6 months is, in a life of a startup, it's an eternity. It's a very long time. In a startup, you need to move things faster. And I realized that the pricing and everything else was structured for big companies, but nobody was focusing on small and medium company enterprises, growing companies who have very different demands and their needs keep changing faster. So that's when we decided that we need to build something which can integrate very easily. And data is the heart and soul of this system. So we first thing we started doing was integration, and of course we made mistakes. We started using third-party integrators for like 6 months or so, and then we realized this isn't gonna work. The amount of variations that are there, and at the same time we were talking to a lot of serious experts like yourself all across the world, and I must say this is an amazing community. We just did cold reach outs on LinkedIn, and people would invariably come on call and have a discussion with us. So first thing we did was, we started with integration, and parallelly we made like simple hand drawings and PPTs that this is what we're building. What do you think about it? So we did almost 300 calls like that. First level with PPT, second level with Figma designs, third level with first part of the product build. And we got so much feedback with so many people that we talked to. And the core differentiators that we understood then, which I think still is the case. Number one was that integrations need to be very, very simple and easy and extremely flexible. So we build all integrations from scratch. So we have our own ELTL tools, which can customize. And if somebody comes with a new tool, we can develop it very, very quickly. So that gave us a very good start from there on. We have like for larger companies, it takes like 2 to 3 weeks, but smaller companies, it maybe takes 1 to 2 days to get them up and running on a platform. Like the
Wow.
fastest we have
Yeah, that's
and
super fast. Wow. Yeah.
typically say 2 to 3 weeks because they have to like get their data aligned and how it's structured and things like that. Second thing which we thought was very important is don't give them a blank slate, because it's very hard for a CS person to get build everything from scratch. So we build a bunch of KPIs that they can start tracking from day one. And of course, they have the option of creating multitude of custom KPIs. And we work with them to help them get there. So very specific product specific KPIs. So we have built around 130 custom company KPIs already. So that's a huge library that we have. Along with that, the pre-existing standard KPIs that you want, like how many people are logging in, how much time they're spending in tickets, etc. All of that. So we started tracking everything from CRM, we started tracking everything from ticketing. All of that starts from day one. Your entire KPIs for your feature requests, your KPIs for billings, your KPIs for payments, all of this, your KPIs from intercom, all of this pulls together, and we integrate with whatever tools you have, pull that data in, those KPIs are in. Now you can create your own custom KPIs with our entire library. So I think that really helped our customers get up and running faster with actually getting valuable data into the system, right? Instead of just basic information. On top of that, we built a bunch of playbooks and a bunch of success plans as well, already pre-built in the system. So you don't have to start from scratch. You can customize them as you get along. And of course, now we have added more and more functionality. We've added campaigns, we've added surveys, we've added the entire AI tech stack. So you have like account summaries, you have churn summaries. We built an inbox, which is like a AI inbox in which you have your conversations are all automatically tagged with issues. And you can also draft your emails through AI and of course customize it as you want. Because of course AI is very important, and we realize that this is something which is now available and needs to be available to our customers. So a lot of things are changing, and as I said, in life of a startup, 6 months is an eternity. We met 6 months ago, right? And within six
Yes,
months
yeah.
much happened in ZapScale. I
I
think these
know.
things be faster, making it much more simpler and giving people a lot of things pre-built has really helped us get some amazing customers on board. I mean, it's not been long. We just launched early this year, and we already have around 50 customers on our platform who are paying customers who are actually using our platform, with companies who have as low as 200 to 300,000 to as high as like 30 million, $50 million of ARR. So the entire range of customers. And I think I'm pretty happy with where we are. Of course, there is still a lot that I would want to do on the platform, and there's so many things that I want to add. We already have a plan for 2 more years, but I think it's very important, with all the feedback that we got before and all the feedback that we still get today. Our customers are very involved with what you're building, and all those feedbacks has really helped us to make the product very customized to the actual user who are actually using our product and platform.
Yeah, I love that. And you answered my next question too. But so I mean, that's probably the unique part of your initial approach. And I see this happening now more, but I don't know if it happened in the early days of the first CSPs, but doing interviews, actually talking to practitioners, understanding the pain point. As a CS community, that's something that we can all appreciate because we do that. We need to do that every time we meet a new customer. To do that and build a platform to follow is kind of unique, right? Most people are like, let me build the thing and then get feedback. It's kind of the flipped approach. But if you take this approach, you really are, you're kind of building more thoughtfully. But I like call it this, I call this session building simpler because I think you simplify any of the chaos that comes from not having product market fit, right? There's a lot of things early on that you have to like, if you don't have product market fit, you're constantly refining, whereas you can kind of move on in your roadmap. So,
Absolutely. In fact, if the point that you said, just adding to that, customer success person who's heading customer success, she was also heading customer success in Fretsol before. And once it got acquired, she was heading entire Southeast Asian region as a director.
mm,
She was one of the first people who joined the company. So she was part of the entire journey of these interviews and discussions. And now with customers, our customer success team and feedback control in some way, in not in some way, in actually a very large way of what gets built in the product in terms of priority. So the entire product build, in fact, in my company, I would say what gets built next has more priority from my customer success head than the founders. If she says this is
wow,
what needs
yeah.
next, we can't say no. We have to agree to that, because she'll say this is what my customers are asking, this is what needs to be built. I don't care what your plan is. So
Yeah, that's
our
so interesting.
plan is based on what my customer success feedback comes in. So she puts the priority in together, that this is what needs to be built next, this is what I want next month. So that's how
Uh,
we have structured it.
That's like customer-led growth. But in a way, I think it's interesting that you say that because I mean, obviously I'm a CS person, so I'm going to agree with that approach. But in the recession, in the post-COVID recession, and actually during COVID, we saw a lot of attrition. And that was actually one of the mechanisms to save your company during that time, save your customers, was to go back to your product feature requests and not go to your roadmap because your roadmap typically is designed internally external facing. Your feedback is coming from the external side, internally facing. So you're actually in a way you could be recession proofing your business without even having to have a recession at hand. But that's kind of an interesting approach because I think again most people had to learn that lesson the hard way in the past years, right?
think all this wisdom comes from running a company once and you understand what works and what doesn't. Product roadmaps are great, but they need to be tuned to what customers are actually asking for. Otherwise, we may end up building something which my current customers are not asking for. Of course, it always requires some level of sanity in between. But like as of now, if you ask me, I don't think my customers are unreasonable at all. They come and ask for things which was in my roadmap anyway, maybe a little later, and we just change the priority. And people who are actually using your product, they want you to be successful. That's what I have seen. Like, if they want us to be successful, and the reason why they're asking for new things is because they do believe that what we are building makes sense.
Yeah.
So it has to be more internal and external mix in terms
Yeah.
of priority.
You often sense frustration. This is something I'm not sensing with you. You often sense frustration in founders when they feel customers are not happy with their product, right? When they feel, oh, I'm getting a lot of feature requests. But feature requests, the way you've spun it, it's a great message to anybody listening is like, it's not I'm unhappy with your product. It's in fact, I am happy with your product. I want to stay continuing to use your product. It is in fact probably a form of, you know, refer like flattery in a way to get product requests, because otherwise if you're not getting them, they're frankly searching around and shopping around somewhere else, right? So that's probably the worst thing, the worst case
Either
situation.
they're shopping or they're not using your product at all.
Yeah,
Like as
yeah,
simple
yeah,
as that, they're using it, not interested, or they're shopping around for other things. So as I get feature requests, like I feel happy that okay, if somebody comes back and tells me I need this, which means they're using it and they want more from it. So that's yes, as you put it, I think you've put it very nicely. It's a compliment.
yeah, it's a compliment. Okay, so I'm going to ask you a question off of my script because I didn't have this in the plan, but you should be able to answer this because I think you are already doing it. For like more of a practical explanation of, obviously every request cannot be prioritized. What is your process of prioritization? How do you said customer success has a big hand in it. How can customer success organizations better partner to deliver value at that product roadmap, but also not alienate cross-functionally? Because I think cross-functional team members also have their priorities, right? So what are some of the balancing mechanisms in your organization and the prioritization mechanisms that you could share?
So as of now, when feature requests come from customers, the first level of filtering happens at customer success level itself. So they talk to the customer and understand which feature is the biggest pain, because they're always asking for multiple things, right? So it is up to them to have a discussion, and I'm glad that we have a good team. So they have a discussion with the customer and understand their most important priorities. So what is like must have and good to have and could have. So the must have priorities first level, they have already done. Now, once they have done that, those must have priorities, which is being asked by multiple customers. That is also very important. That if more than one customer is asking, that means that feature request is actually important for everybody. And if that feature request is specifically being asked by some very important customer, that's also highly paying customer, that also becomes an important point. So once those things are added as must have feature, then of course we also take in requirements from internal teams as sales, marketing. Founders may also have a little bit of say there. So what I want to get built, and we add those things together. So AI requirements hadn't started coming from our customers yet, because it was still coming in. People were seeing things happening around, but the feedback that we got was a lot of customers started using chat gpt and these other AI tools which were available. So that's when we started seeing this trend, and we saw that I think this is very important that we add into. So that was part of the founders initiative, but rest of the features like campaigns and surveys, all of this came from the customers, and we started adding those features. So all of this put gets together in a list, and then of course we sit together and we discuss how we will prioritize that as a team. So the product team, the CS team, the sales team, the marketing team, and of course somebody has to sit as peacekeeper. So the founder sits there, and then we sort of prioritize it based on all of these parameters, that okay, We will build certain things which are like every build is like these things are which are needs for the customers, and then maybe these things which are more enhancement from our side. So we sort of put it as 70/30, sometimes 60/40, and we prioritize both. Otherwise, the overall vision of the product gets lost. That is also a problem, which we would not want that. So that balance needs to be kept, and that is something that's the job of a founder, to look at what feature requests are coming and where you want to take your product in future.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you for sharing that. Um, so how have you felt your customers are responding so far, or what are you guys hearing? And I'm curious, do you use like community or any other tools to drive your like feedback and sentiment? How are you doing that?
We do a lot of events and webinars and podcasts that we do very regularly. Plus, marketing team continues to do parallel surveys. Now, those surveys are not only with existing customers, but also with people who did not sign up, because a lot of insights that we can get from people who liked us but for various reasons did not sign up. So we want to find out what was the reason and what did you think didn't work out for you, because that gives us a lot of insight on how to improve our product. Along with that, of course, we do these community events, in which one of those events in which you were a part of. Now these community events are just to create occasions for people to meet each other. They are not specifically ZapScale branding or ZapScale stories. These are just CS evangelism, actually, because we want more people to understand how important customer success is for the success of a startup. So these events are more focused on that, but it always gives us the opportunity to talk to a number of people who are customers or who are potential in the pipeline or who would have said no and maybe still talking to us. And it gives us a lot of information and insights. And almost every event that we do, we get at least 7, 8, 10 people who would want to sit, go through the product and tell us, apart from leads that are generated, to go through the product and just honestly tell us, why don't you add this? I think this would add more value to our product and this would be very good. And when you have this, I think you can try reaching to my company because it makes a lot of sense for us. So those connections that we have built through this community, I think they have been extremely valuable in the journey. And a lot of people within the, we also have a scale tail community, WhatsApp community, where more than us, people that we know and customers, like I would get WhatsApp screenshots from my team sometimes, where one of our customers, somebody has asked, what are you using, and one of my customers and gone and said, we are using this and we love it. And those are the little moments that really bring so much joy toward everything you do.
No, that's awesome. That's so great. I think it's you definitely have like a customer first focus, and that seems very interesting. And even like a not customer for, not non-customer first focus, because even if people aren't a direct customer, there's a ton of value that you can gain. And I love that insight. Like we all often do exit surveys, but we survey prospects that have not closed one, right? Do we do those surveys, right? And I think I don't know if people do those enough, to be honest. I have to probably like ask some sales leaders now. Um, is there anything that keeps you up at night being a founder, being a leader? Like, are there things that you go like, here's the less rosy side of things?
Oh, life of founder, it's like you're on a roller coaster, right? So there could be something really bad happening in the morning, and like you will feel the world is going down. And by evening, something good happens, and you feel, oh, it's amazing. It's like a sine curve, going up and down every day. There is just, I think there's just so much that is there on my plate and so many things that I want to build. Of course, there is always a speed limit to what you can do, right? This this time is a very important factor. Time and money. You always have
Daily,
to balance.
daily problem, big daily challenge.
Daily challenge, time and money, and you always have to balance that. So yes, there are moments where you feel like, oh, what am I doing? What's happening here? Why is it going like this? And then of course by evening something good happens, and then you say, okay, I will win the world. I can do everything. So it's a very very interesting, challenging up and down road. And I think I have become addicted to it in some ways. That's the reason I chose it again. It was a very calm, serene job in my corporate life. Even before, when I was working, I was also a professor for a year, before I started my first company. So I was a teacher. And
Lovely.
it was really very calming. You come in the morning, you teach a class, and you enjoy the energy of all the young people in the class, and you help them out, and you create such relationships as a teacher and a student. So that was very different. But I think I've become addicted to the kind of life I have right now, where things can change every day. There is always something new to be built, and there is always some new team member to get to know.
Yeah, that is but I think what you said is probably true for a lot of people that even if you're not a founder, you choose to work in startup life because I think there's a lot of always on the go mentality, ups and downs, and being able to weather the storm. And I think that is something that I can definitely relate to because I tend to also gravitate towards the less like, the more build phase kind of environments where some of those things, those ups and downs happen. I mean, I guess they happen everywhere, but not maybe not as much in the more stable environment.
Anybody who's doing their own business or is working in a small company, they are all, in a way, a founder in their own right.
Yeah,
Right?
yeah,
If you're heading a product team in a small company or a startup who's just growing, you are a founder because you are also worried every day of so many things that you have to do, and it needs to go correct, and there is very little time and there is so much to do. So this highs and lows, I think, is part of every person who works in a startup.
yeah,
And when there
definitely.
is business becomes really big and the systems and processes are very structured, then there are many checks and balances, and chances of making big mistakes are very less, and
Yeah,
chances of opportunities of making big decisions are also less. But in a growing company or in your own company as an entrepreneur, or if you're working in a startup, every day you have to take so many decisions, and you don't have the option of always asking somebody to give you what decision to make. You have to make those decisions. They may
hmm
be right, it doesn't matter, but the thrill and the energy and the power that it brings and the excitement that it brings has its own life and has its
yeah,
own way. So I think it's kind of, most people who start their own company or most people who choose to join a startup, they know the risks, right? But still they choose to join those companies because I think all of those people enjoy the challenges that it brings.
yeah, yep, definitely can relate. And I think it's like the high risk, high reward, high reward. And like even the reward can just be like solving a big problem or, winning a big customer for the first time or something. There's so many unique stages in the life of, a startup that you really can find joy in. Um, okay, let's just shift a little bit of, gears. You mentioned community podcast, other webinars and things and events. Can you tell us a little bit about your podcast and like who have you been chatting with this year? What are some of the things that you've maybe picked up or learned along the way this year?
I learned a lot through the podcast. It was less, if you ask me, but of course my team says it was more from creating more marketing contact for ZapScale, but for me it was more about meeting those people who have been doing customer success professionally for many years. They've seen many challenges, and my objective was just to learn
Hmm.
and to learn more of what they know and how they understand and how they look at the problems, so that we can create more understanding of what we're doing. And I was so fortunate that when we started reaching out, and nobody knew me in the customer success world at that time, but this community is amazing. Everybody would say yes and come to the podcast. The conversations were so interesting. Like every discussion I would go back and make notes what more to do. I think I haven't been doing this. This is what the person said. Like small things, complex things, a lot of it. This year, I had a discussion with Jeff Marr, Peter Armali. They've just written a book, and
Yeah.
process of how they created the book, the thought process that came with it, and of course, they're both their experiences in a very different way. Peter has been, of course, a very senior CS professional, and he's an amazing gentleman. And Jeff Ma is also senior, however, he's an hugely humble person, right? He has been working as CSM, or I think CS head for quite some time. And he looks at from the lens of a CSM trying to create those artifacts. And Peter looks at the lens of a CSVP director lens. And they've put this book together. I read the book, of course, and I found it very interesting. And I thought I should talk to these two gentlemen because I'm sure there is so much more than what they've put in the book. So similarly, I've talked to, I think I, during this journey, I think I've talked to almost anybody and everybody I was reading articles and blogs of. And
Love that.
we've just paused Scale Tail podcast a little bit because we are end and everything else, but we would start again, of course, because it brings so much value apart from sharing with our audiences. And a lot of people come and read, a lot of people subscribe. But I think for me, the ROI is the knowledge and experience that I gained personally from talking to all of these people. And of course, you as well, Parul. I'm so fortunate to meet you and to be able
Yes,
to.
I know. And I love our ever evolving layers of conversations that we're having because I feel like I'm learning a lot about you, but also it's really giving me awesome insight of like I kind of said this maybe on my LinkedIn or somewhere, but it's like the opportunity, many people don't have the opportunity to build something from the ground up and build it the right way. I had that chance once and I didn't know that I had that chance. I just kind of accidentally stumbled into it. You're intentionally stumbling into it. And you're actually taking on an approach to not only build a product that's simpler for a CS community, but also build it better, right? And build it more strategically so that you don't have to go and backtrack 15 times. And if that messaging resonates to any founders out there, I think that is to me like super valuable. And I've learned that in multiple conversations with you. So I can appreciate that sentiment that you shared too. Okay, well, just to wrap it up here, I have a last question for you, which is any advice for our South Asian success community looking to be inspired by, maybe they want to start something new, a new venture, a new idea, kind of what were some of those first steps that you take? How do you overcome risk aversion or like the challenges of sort of society? How do you overcome some of those things? And if you have any thoughts from your experience.
I think risk is a very personal thing, right? And priorities are also a very personal thing of how you balance it, right? Some people may have more risk appetite and others may have responsibilities. So you do not have the opportunity or the option of taking that risk. And I respect that, right? I absolutely respect that. I did not take a risk for 12 years. I was still
Mhm.
working, right? So it's a matter of very personal choice of what risks you want to take. However, life should be inspiring and challenging. Otherwise, it gets very boring. So if life has to be inspiring, then you need to challenge yourself with new things. It doesn't matter if you start a new venture or start a new company or start a new consulting, but even if whatever job you're doing, if you are able to innovate anything in a small way, I think you should definitely go out there and try it because it will, one, keep you inspired and excited about your work. And second, doing those things gives a lot of perspective of what more you can do. Because at times people don't trust themselves that can I even do this? So unless you challenge yourself, you wouldn't know, right? That if I can maybe build whatever I have created as an innovation within my business, can this be made bigger as a
Yeah.
company and maybe larger and maybe I can do more? Do I have that kind of risk or challenge appetite? So life should definitely be inspiring no matter where you are and what you do. Keep innovating in your own way. And of course, if you feel confident enough that you want to start something, well, nobody's stopping you. I'm not saying you leave your job, start tomorrow and take huge risks. No, but you can always start in a small way and see where it goes and take your measured risks based on wherever you are in your life's journey. Startups are hard. Starting your own company is always hard. There's a lot of romance that comes with the kind people talk about with founders and startups. But, Parul, when you started on your own, you understand, right? It
Oh
is
yeah.
hard. because first month when I left my job and my salary didn't come in, it was scary. It's really, because you realize that, okay, now the money is not going to come in, my business needs to kick off before that money comes in. So
Yeah.
it is, I agree, and risk appetite varies from person to person. But if you have been thinking about it a long time, take a break for 2 3 months and try it, because
Yeah.
I'm sure you want to grow old and think, maybe I should have done that. Do that.
Yeah.
Let's
No, you're right. I think that it's like, I think one speaker we had on here, Prashant Jyoti, he talked about his intentional brand building. And he said, one day I just woke up and I said, look, let me do this. Right. And I don't think that for many people, there's like this point that makes you stronger than somebody else. It's the starting, right? It's just the choice to start and the choice to continue. And those are the things that keep you going. And whether it's starting a new venture, brand building, whatever you're trying to do for yourself, if you think about it and you just keep it inside, it doesn't get external. And then if you actually take some action towards it, that's when you really start to see that change and that growth. So yeah, I would fully agree.
start something and be consistent. It's same as going to
Yeah.
the gym, right? You have
Yeah.
to really
Yes. You have to do it. Commitment.
and then be consistent with your exercise and running and whatever you're doing. So it that is going to benefit you, but there are pains that you have to take to get there.
Yeah.
Doing something new is also like that. It doesn't always have to be starting something brand building, doing something innovative in the place of work where you do, or creating some new app. There are so many avenues and opportunities nowadays with so many things online, that if you want to learn and grow, you are spoiled for opportunities. It's a
Yeah.
matter of doing that research and finding what inspires you.
Yeah. Absolutely. Oops, am I on mute? Okay. Absolutely. I love that. That's a great way to think. That's a great way to sort of close this and say, you can make it as difficult as you want, but you can also make it as easy as picking up a new habit, right? Going to the gym. It doesn't have to take all of your energy, but it has to take some of your time, right? And so, make that choice, make that deliberate choice to do something. I think we took a couple of turns off of maybe topic, but I'm okay with that because I really think we got a chance to dive in. And I feel like this session will be so valuable. And I really hope to share it also with people starting something new, right? If you want to be able to build something based on the principles of customer success, this hopefully will be something we can continue to share for a long time. So thank you so much for joining today.
Thank you, Parul, and I hope more and more people start companies in customer success. Competition is not bad, competition is great. And I believe that in a few years' time, just like marketing has, like, 7, 8,000 tools, customer success will also have that in a few years.
Yes.
And I really hope that this particular community grows, so that all of us benefit from the growth of customer success in the SaaS and non-SaaS world.
100%. I love that. Grow so we have a rich, diverse, tool set to choose from. That's such a great closing sentiment. Well, thank you so much, Mosmi. It's been awesome as always. And for all of our listeners, look forward to our 2025 programming. We're going to take a little break in December and just take a breather, enjoy the holidays, but we're looking forward to more to come in the next year. So thanks everyone for listening. Bye bye.
Thank you, everyone. Thanks.